Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 82 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role, the first episode of the new year. Very excited for that. Very excited just to recap this episode. It's been a while since we've done one of these. 2 weeks, way too long, but we're back, so let's get into it. We start walking out of the storm that was summoned by Keyleth last episode and heading towards the Malleus Key dig site. The party are coming close to the edge of the dig site and see some tents and a Ryloran and one of those massive automaton warders. There's a strange statue that Laudna investigates, and with a good roll, she sees or thinks that it's some sort of defense post. FCG gives Chetney the scroll of greater restoration for Plane Rider Rin, just in case they come across her. The party start to plan what they want to do. They remember they are on a time limit, so they have to go fast. Chetney clicks his boots together, which gives him, I think, extra movement, and turns invisible. He then goes ahead and scouts out the encampment in front of them. FCG gives him one of the EMP devices that Percy made for them to shut down one of the warders. He's going to look at one of the tents. As he's about to go, a crawler races past all of the Valshells. Luckily, the crawler rider doesn't see them, and Chetney is able to sneak past and get to the tent. He sees a rest area within this tent. There's no beds, just tables. And there's one Ruby Vanguard soldier. Here, he seems to be either praying or is very nervous. They have a telepathic bond up, so Chetney can tell the others what he sees. Chetney looks for explosives, but only sees ballista bolts and other regular type weapons. The party see that there are 2 ballista on the map, and they are both armed with guards. The party want to take out the solo guy in the tent. Chetney goes to the smaller tent on the other side of the map, avoiding the warder. There's a few chairs in this tent, and he sniffs around for anyone who's invisible, but only smells blood and sweat, but it's a fading scent, meaning someone was there but has left. The rest of the party move up at this point, stealth checks all around, and because of Pass Without a Trace, they roll stupid high. They see the chaos below within the dig site and across the way, and it's still going on. The party rush inside the larger tent. They now see the humanoid man, or the human man, inside the tent. He stands and says that he's going to get on his way soon. Imogen tells him to hurry, soldier, before he misses the combat. Intimidation check, she only rolls a 10. He starts to leave and then slows down and takes a look over the party, but Ashton yells at him to get moving, and this is enough to get him to leave. They want to take out the warder. Chetney, with the EMP, walks up behind the warder. FCG told him how to use it. There's a switch that is a timer, and there's an instant activation switch. He wants something sticky to make sure it stays on the warder. FCG gives him some bread starter, which I guess is like the dough. Chetney grabs the starter. He finds a space that he can jam the device in on the warder. He rushes up, makes a attack roll 21, which barely beats the AC of 20. He successfully sticks the EMP to the warder and flicks the 1-minute timer switch, and then gets the heck out of Dodge. Off in the distance, a massive explosion is heard, where the diversion is happening, where the distraction is happening. A minute passes and the device goes off in the warder. A small explosion goes off that gives off a weird smell, and the warder goes down. The guards go to check it out. The Ryolan guard who's there doesn't move at all. He is the one seemingly directing traffic here. The party make their way out of the tent and start moving closer toward the edge. Chetney waits in the middle, invisible still. The rest of the party is next to the Bastila, and there is a path down right near them. Laudna makes Pate turn invisible and tells him to distract the Ryolan. It looks toward Pate, and at this point another Ryolan juggernaut, this time happens to walk out of a tent off on the other side. And the two of them seem to have a silent conversation. The Ryolan next to the defense post that's been out here the whole time waves his hand, and Pate is suddenly held still, and he informs Laudna of this. The Ryolans start to look around. Laudna and Imogen want to cause an explosion to fake sending them flying down into the dig site, and they cast Featherfall on everyone so they can just skip everything and go right down to the Malleus Key. Chetney and the others are not sure about this. At this point, the Juggernaut smashes Pate, killing him, so he'll have to be resummoned. The witches all like the plan, but the others don't. FCG wants to either sneak by or fight these things. At this point, the Ryolan puts his hand on the defense statue or defense post and starts to come to life. FCG says that they can cast silence, and Orm likes this idea. FCG casts silence on the two of them. Chetney puts a blood curse on the Juggernaut Ryolan, making sure that he can't move, and Chetney turns visible at this point. Chetney climbs up next to the Juggernaut, and Chetney attacks it. He hits all 3 attacks, dealing 15, 9, and 10 damage for 34 damage total on the Juggernaut. At this point, Imogen casts Fly on herself and flies up and lands on a rock and tells him to play along in his head, and then yells for Chetney to stop. Chetney pretends to stop, and a deception check comes in. Not good enough, as the Juggernaut starts to reach toward Chetney. Imogen uses telekinesis and pulls Chetney into the air and toward her. He tells her to fake snap his neck, and she does, and he pretends to go limp. And then a deception check from that is 15. And the blood curse drops right at this moment, which makes it even a little bit more believable. This seems to have worked, as the Juggernaut frustratedly walks away. Imogen tells FCG to drop silence, and they do, and waves for the rest of the party to stand up as if she is their commander. Imogen tells the Ryolans that there are more of them out there, and tells them that the party to spread out to start looking. Group deception check, natural 1 from Laudna. FCG gets a 23, Fern with a 15, Orm with a 19, and Ashton with a 10. The group begin to pretend to look for other intruders, and the Ryolan looks them over and stops at Laudna. She needs to make a strength save. She rolls a 15, and she is suddenly lifted into the air and pulled towards the middle of the camp. The Ryolan yells, "Interlopers." Orm runs up and uses Seedling to pull the arm of the Ryolan off the defense post. Ashton then runs up and shoves the Ryolan with a 15 on the athletics check, knocking the Ryolan prone and sending him off the cliff side into the dig site, going 15 feet down. The rest of the party move up to Ashton. Imogen uses telekinesis to try to pull down this defense post and push it down over top of the Ryolan. With a 22, she successfully rips out the anchors from the ground that hold this defense post in place, and it causes it to fall onto the Ryolan, crushing him instantly. They begin to run down into the dig site. The other guards who are at this encampment don't seem to hear any of this, including the Juggernaut. As they push through the dig site, they're going down a large switchback path. It switches back every about 25 feet. It's hard to see anything down here as they go, as there's a giant dust storm going on, and over top is a dark storm cloud, so it's rather dark out. Orm makes a perception check. He sees 20 or so warders rushing towards the diversion on the other side of the dig site. He also sees two or more near the Malleus Key, and other figures on guard near it. Orm informs the others of what he sees. Orm wonders if Imogen can convince them down there that she is in fact her mother. Imogen isn't too sure. Orm hopes the storm is enough to hide them properly, so it could work. At this point, Laudna pulls out the scry ball and sees nothing. They continue down, seeing the diversion going on continuously over to the side. They see more of these defense posts, and they're shooting out lightning, so they are now lightning posts. Orm says they should try to either convince them that she is in fact Liliana, or not, because either or, they're going to end up fighting someone. They pass by some of the other Vanguard members and warders as they go, and they step aside. A group deception check, they all roll okay, and the Vanguard looks them over very quickly. However, they have to continue on to more pressing matters, so they don't stop and look at them. At this point, the party starts seeing the rooftops of the ruins here from the dig site. They also see what looks to be an expansion of the dig site military base here. More tents, more buildings that are being built. And there's a consistent red glow from the Malleus Key from here. The party can either pretend to belong here, or they can stealth around. With pass without a trace up, they choose to sneak around. It's a little bit better for them. They feel like they're less convincing and more stealth heavy. Stealth checks, Chetney with a 39, Laudna with a 23, FCG with a 21, Fern with a 33 herself, which is insane. The two of them are cracked. Imogen with a 20, Orm with a 29, also cracked, and Ashton with a 28, also cracked. Pass without a trace might be one of the best stealth spells ever. It's disgusting. They expertly hide themselves as they continue going down, bouncing between alcove to alcove on the switchback. As as they're moving, they hear some people talking in the Marquesian tongue. FCG speaks it, and they understand what they're saying. The two people, one wants to join the fight and appear to look like they're helping out, and the other wants to stay here as their work is important. They are both very nervous. Imogen reads their mind. One wants to go make a display of usefulness, and the other wants to just keep doing their job. They seem to be very tense based on the Rylauren presence. The party want to check out what they're doing, because if their work is important, maybe they're holding Plain Red or in. Chetney looks into the alcove where the guards are and takes out his monocle and casts Arcane Eye. With a perception check of 15, he sees a prisoner wearing armor and white hair with no weapons. He is unconscious. Chetney also sees the Vanguard guards at a table, and they have weapons, and there's also 2 Ryolans inside the alcove. The party wants to help him. Laudna wonders how much time they have left. It's only been 3 minutes, so they should have somewhere in the neighborhood of 27 minutes. Hopefully, they were told they can get 30 minutes out of it. These Ryolans in the room are different from what they've seen before. They have more armor and weapons, and they look very much like the Predator, in Matt's words. FCG thinks that they could call a shift change on the 2 guards, and everyone likes this idea. Imogen and Chetney are the ones who go in for this idea. The guards stand up and as they see them, and they ready themselves. Imogen simply says shift change, and deception check, she gets an 18. They both nod nervously and walk out. After they walk out, the Ryolans look at Imogen. One says exultant, I don't recognize you. Imogen says, don't you, implying that she's very important. Intimidation check. Chetney looks for any bloody bridge passports on the 2 guards who leave. As they leave, no one in the room seems to be wearing anything like that, from what he could gather. The Ryolans are wearing odd armor, made of hides, bone, and metals that no one really recognizes. Imogen, intimidate roll was 21. The Ryolans nod and ask why she's here. Imogen says, who are they to question her? They didn't mean any disrespect. Imogen says curiosity killed the cat, and the Ryolan says those who step into a place they aren't invited will be met with malice. And says that Odahan outranks Imogen, and they listen to her. Imogen says that she'll have to talk to Odahan, and then she begins to walk out to grab the others. Chetney says that he has something for the Ryolans. He holds up a wooden carving. They look it over and ask what it is, and he says a bite and transforms into his werewolf form. It's time to roll initiative. Initiative rolls go like this: Orm with 23, Chetney with 20, Fern with 16, Imogen 14, Ashton 9, Laudna 9, and FCG 6. Chetney gets a surprise round here. Chetney grabs one of the Ryolans and spins him, putting him in between Chetney and the other Ryolan. Orm is now up. He runs up and throws a dagger at the Ryolan that Chetney is holding, and hits for 6 damage. It's now the Ryolans. The one that's not being held by Chetney jumps around the tables and lands closer to the other group and looks at Imogen. With the chain wrapped around them, it telekinetically throws it at Imogen. Imogen fails to save, and it slams into her. It hooks into her, and she is pulled back towards the Ryolan, and it slashes her twice with its arm bracer blades things, which is kind of cool. Dealing a ton of damage. The grappled one tries to telekinetically shove Chetney, but he saves. He then tries to regularly shove Chetney, but again he wins the athletic check. It then slashes Chetney, dealing 7 damage. Chetney is up. He ignites his claws, letting go of the Ryolan, and then attacks the one he was holding, hitting 3 times, dealing 34 damage total. Fern is up. She moves up and casts Charm Person on both of them, and they both fail. They now see Fern as an ally. They both ask her for help, and she tells them to calm down and stop attacking. Persuasion check of 18 doesn't work. They're currently in combat. It's kind of hard for them to be convinced. Imogen is up. Imogen grabs the Ryolan in front of her with telekinesis and slams him into the ceiling for 9 damage, and then slams him back down on top of the other guy for 5 more damage. The other Ryolan moves out of the way, making the dex save, taking no damage. She then quicken spells and casts Lightning Bolt on both of them. They both fail, taking 30 damage each. They both look very rough now. One breaks the charm from Fern. Ashton is up. Ashton sees more Vanguard coming up the path, and he tells the others to be quick with this. They rage, and they get space rage, and then rush in. Or walk in. Ashton then throws his hammer through a portal at the weaker one, and it appears behind him. They hit, dealing 18 damage, killing the Rylon instantly. Ashton then grabs the hammer as it comes back and falls into a portal and lands next to the remaining Ryolan and hits him again for 19 damage. Laudna is up. She moves up and casts Eldritch Blast on the remaining Ryolan, hitting with all three, killing him. She then hides from the Vanguard who are coming around the corner. The party start to hide. Fern and Imogen take a seat at the table, and the hiders all need to roll stealth. Ashton with a 19, Orym with a 24, FCG with a 13, Laudna with a 36, and Chetney with a 29. The Vanguard soldiers just run past the group. They were luckily not seen by them. The party start looking around the room. Orym looks at the prisoner. He is out cold. He calls FCG over to sort of do his job and heal him. They look him over and he's been beaten and he's very swollen. But he's still alive. FCG uses Cure Wounds on him to give him 5 hit points and then heals him a little bit more. The man looks to be in his 40s. He has tan skin and a white hair. Obviously, like I said before, his face is swollen from the beatings he's received. His armor has the symbol of the Lawbearer on it. He wakes up. Orym says they don't have much time and they ask who he is. He is Ishto. The party don't know that name. He's a holy warrior of the Lawbearer from Ashenador. Fern asks why he's in shackles. He was here to gather information with a crew. He thinks he's the only one that's left. He doesn't know how to cross the bridge. They couldn't get that close. There's a bunch of sigils on the ground that turn people into stone. They ask who sent them and why. He says he's from Eos, and they're here for the same reasons that the rest of the party are here for, to gather information. FCG asks if he wants to keep fighting or get out of here. He wants to save this realm if he can, so if he can, he'll fight and help others. So they free him up. They ask what Odahan wanted with him. He doesn't know who she is. Insight check from Orym and Fern. They both get whispers. Orym runs to look to see if anyone's coming and joins Laudna in the sort of perception checks. Chetney asks if he can point out where these sigils are. He doesn't know where they are. The ones that he knows of or where they were used up, and thinks that they're most likely been moved since then. FCG asks what weapon he uses. He says that he likes a big sword or a hammer, but whatever works, works. Fern tells him to take one of the chains off the Ryolans like she did. At this point, they search the Ryolans and they find a bunch of snack pouches with some sort of red beads and a dried jerky of some sort. They're not quite sure what the meat is. There's no money on them, and they also have their armor and their bladed bracers. They hide the bodies and decide to get moving. Chetney takes one of the blade bracers because they're cool as hell. They're going to pretend Ishto is a prisoner for them, and they bring him along. Fern takes both chains off the Ryolans. Orym sees it's clear, and every now and then he sees a figure come out of the bloody bridge to join the fight. They get moving, and they've now reached the bottom of the dig site. They see the ruins of the old civilization here that have now been converted into some sort of makeshift military base surrounding the Malleus Key. They hear the fighting going off around them and above them. There is an ever-present red light coming from the Malleus Key. Chetney is in front, using the monocle to look for sigils. Looking around, it looks very similar to how Imogen's dreams look, with the red glow. There are loads of guards and ballistas and warders all over the place. Hard to make out exactly how many with the dust. Chetney doesn't see any sigils or glyphs at the moment. FCG sees most people are holding their positions, not moving around and scrambling. Imogen thinks it's best to summon a Ryolan to make them look more official. The party love that idea. Orym thinks about where they saw Rin last time. He remembers she was, or where she was with a high survival roll, and she's roughly 100 feet away from their current position. Imogen summons a Rhyloran. A red mist comes off her and Fern and pools in front of Imogen. It tears open a hole in space, and from it comes a Rhyloran, who is now looking at Imogen. Imogen tells them what they need from them. As they're walking, Chetney needs to make a con save. 21 on the save. As he steps down, there's a flash below him. It surrounds him, and he feels like he weighs 4 times more than what he's used to. He is luckily able to resist it, and Chetney realizes at this point that he stepped on one of the sigils. Chet gives the bag of holding to FCG, who then gives it to Fern. Fern looks at Imogen. She sees that the purple cracks on Imogen are giving off a persistent faint glow. Chetney looks to see if he alerted anyone with the trap. FCG casts Enhance Ability on Chetney for wisdom saves, and the party asks if Ishto is willing to go to the moon with them because he might have to. He says if he must, he'll go, but if he doesn't have to, he kind of doesn't want to, but he doesn't really have any other way to get out. They decide to move on at this point. Chetney leads again, rolling a 19. They need to make another stealth check as they go. Chetney points out 4 sigils as they go, saving the party from turning into stone several times. Chetney makes an investigation check. He rolls a 12. He doesn't discern any pattern to the sigils, but in order for the enemy to move through here quickly, there needs to be some sort of warning or sign or some sort of way to sort of keep them safe from these sigils, but he hasn't figured it out quite yet. Stealth checks, all stupid high. It passed out of trace is amazing. They move behind buildings using them as cover. They look at where Rin used to be, and she is no longer there. They're getting close to the base of the tower. They see the 2 warders circling the key, and there are 2 ballista, and there is a single rune crawler there as well, with someone manning the turret. FCG thinks that they can't be seen going inside the key because they will be followed. They're close enough that Matt pulls out a sick battle map, which I shall be showing because it's badass, and Matt's badass map skills should be on display. Lana says that she can try Phantasmal Force to try to pull everyone away, but it doesn't work on warders as they are constructs. Chetney suggests using Ishto as a distraction, but Imogen fucking hates that idea. Orm says there's only one warder near them right now. They should be able to sneak past it, no problem. Imogen suggests using their other EMP device to take it out, and maybe even the crawler with it if they time it right. They can turn Chetney invisible, but she'd lose her Rhyloran at this point if she tried. Maybe the Rhyloran could do it for them. Chetney thinks with their disguise they could just walk up to the key, but the rest disagree with him. FCG doesn't know if the EMP device will take out the crawler because they don't know what sort of mechanics it has. Imogen asks if the Rhyloran is on the Vanguard side. It says that they are with the Imperium, so no, they being the Ruby Vanguard. At this time, a light comes down from the bloody bridge, and people step out of it. A Rhyloran, who looks very different. He seems to be of the magic variety. The other person that comes out is a high-ranking elf member of the Ruby Vanguard, and Odahan Thule steps out as well. The elf walks off, and Odahan tells the others to keep the defenses up around the key, and then she begins to bound off towards the fight going on the western side, I believe it was the western side, of the dig site. The Rhyloran that came out with her is now hovering around the Malleus Key, giving orders to the people nearby. They continue to plan on how to get the EMP or how to use the EMP and take out the warders. Orm and Imogen think they just have to draw the enemy away and then book it for the key. FCG sees a lightning defense post nearby, and they wonder if they could use it. Chetney goes over into the ruins and is attempting to sneak near the lightning post. He sneaks over, still in werewolf form, and is able to get near the lightning post and rolls an Arcana check of 16. He sees it as of simple design that anyone with a very little understanding could use it, and thinks that he could alter it so he could use it right now if he needs to. The witches want to make a massive explosion in the corner in the hope to distract using the bombs and some magic. they also have bombs. I forget where they got them. I'm almost positive they got them at the same time as the EMPs. The party move up towards closer to the Malleus Key, and they make stealth checks. No one rolls lower than 20, again, for the third time today. Pass without a trace is monstrous. Orm leads the way. As he touches one of the walls of the ruins, a sigil goes off. A con save of 9. A flash goes off and his right arm begins to turn into stone. FCG very quickly casts Greater Restoration on Orm. Dust falls off Orm's arm, and his life is saved, and his arm is saved for now. The party continues on forward, eventually getting to the place that they feel comfortable to start this attack from. Chetney looking near the Malleus Key to see if there's any sigils nearby, and he warns the others that there are some. Imogen twin spells Catapult on the 2 bombs that they have, and throws them 90 feet in front of them, towards 2 different places. Lana and Fern move to the side a bit more into the open, and see the bombs in the air, and they use their fire spells. Fern uses Scorching Ray, hitting the bombs as it begins to dart down, and I believe Laudna just cast Fireball. I think that's literally like the only fire spell that she has. Causing a massive explosion, knocking over the crawler, the rune crawler with the turret. At this point, the warders and the guards turn and start heading that way. The Ryolan hovering stays in place, just watching. The party start running. Chetney, still off to the side by himself. Imogen tries to blind the Ryolan as they run. He saves on the spell and the Ryolan turns, and Matt calls it a Thought Eater, who is now hovering towards the party. It's time to roll initiative. Initiative rolls goes like this. Orm first, Chetney, Imogen, and FCG all rolled the same, but it goes in that order because that's how Rolly determined it. Laudna, Ashton, and then finally Fern. Orm uses his flea boots, jumps up towards the roof, going towards the stairs of the Malleus Key. And that's his whole turn, as he made his full movement up. Chetney jumps over the cart that he was behind and runs behind the warder. And he takes out Turmoil and casts Shatter on one of the Ruby Vanguard members nearby him, dealing 12 damage to him and destroying the stairs that he was going to use to get up to the Malleus Key. Imogen is up. She tells the Ryolan to attack at the same time as her, and they both attack the Thought Eater. Imogen uses Psychic Lance. The Thought Eater saves, only taking 14 damage from Imogen. The Ryolan does a regular psychic attack, and for 13 damage, does a bit more damage to the Thought Eater. Imogen then runs towards the key. FCG is up, and they move up. They're now 60 feet from the Thought Eater. They use Scramble the Dead. For whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank on whatever the hell that ability is. I wonder if it's part of the custom thing, but I'm not too sure. Oh, it might be Toll the Dead, because, of course, Sam can't do anything normal. Toll the Dead, more than likely. The Thought Eater fails, and it takes a bunch of damage from it. It's now a Vanguard member runs towards the explosion. The Thought Eater then raises its hands and informs the other people of what's going on near the key. It is then he's going to try a Psychic Slam on Orm. It hits Orm, and he takes 14 damage from being slammed, and he feels a blast of energy going through him. He is then pushed off to the side 15 feet and falls to the ground. Also, Ishto also ran up with Orm. I forgot to mention that part. Dexterity save. He rolls a 9 and takes 11 more damage from falling. The Thought Eater does this again to Ishto. He takes 12 damage and is pushed off to the side of the roof as well. And he lands on top of Orm. Dex save from Orm. He fails. And they both take 11 damage. And Ishto is now at 1 HP. Rip. He is so close. Laudna is up. She casts Spider Climb on herself and climbs up the building that leads up toward the stairs toward the Malleus Key. She then casts Eldritch Blast, hitting 2 of her 3 on the Thought Eater, dealing 13 damage from one and 8 from another. Ashton is now up, and they race and get time. He runs up towards the tower, climbing up the building, going up to the stairs much like Laudna. He braces himself for any psychic slams using his immovable rod on his hammer. At this point, a Juggernaut runs up and blocks the path going into the stairs. Another Juggernaut runs up to Chetney and swings at him, hitting once. It is now the two warders' turn. One of them runs up and tries to destroy the building that Laudna and the rest of them are standing on, but fails to do so this turn. One then runs up to Chetney and swings, missing. One hitting another. Chetney needs to make a athletic save or be knocked prone, and he does successfully make it. Fern is up. She jumps to the roof using a mirthful leap, and with she's now up there with Laudna and Ashen. It's very precarious. She then casts Polymorph on the Juggernaut in front of them to turn him into a possum. Fern is within one turn of the doorway at this point to the Malleus Key, or as I'm going to call it from now on, she is one turn from the Bloody Bridge. She feels pulled towards it. The Vanguard members are now up. One aims a ballista at Fern but misses. Another aims another ballista at Ashen and hits, dealing 14 damage, and Ashen needs to make a strength save. They get a natural 20. Ashen barely moves after getting hit by it, and it leaves a mild hole. The immovable rod was huge in this moment. One soldier runs over towards Orym and Ishto. I keep saying it the other two ways, I don't know. But misses both attacks that he makes against each of them. Orym is up. He decides to leap up toward the roof, and then bait and switches with Fern, giving her more AC. Chetney is up. He tries to run from the warder, and it uses a reaction to attack him. It hits, but he doesn't get knocked prone. Chetney is now next to the lightning post and aims it at the Thought Eater. The Thought Eater makes the save, but still takes 21 damage. 42 damage would have been huge here. Imogen is up. She casts Telekinesis, making the Rhyolone beside her disappear. It's an ability check versus the Thought Eater strength check. She rolls a 10, and it unfortunately rolls a 13. The Thought Eater breaks the hold of Telekinesis. Imogen then quickens spells and then casts Mind Sliver, but the Thought Eater saves. FCG is up, and they start moving up the stairs to the Bloody Bridge. It's very cramped here. They open up their mouth and cast a Guiding Bolt towards the Thought Eater for a 26. The Guiding Bolt seemingly came from the soul coin or soul ball they ate at Nanamori's. Or at least that's just what Sam said. Maybe that's not it. He just decided to take the spell. Next attack against the Thought Eater now has advantage, and FCG moves up towards the Bloody Bridge. The light is blinding, and FCG feels a call pulling him towards it. They step through and vanish into the Bloody Bridge. Ishto is up. He rushes the Ruby Vanguard member in front of him, grabbing him and pushing him into some sort of the wreckage, or some of the wreckage nearby. He takes the enemy's glaive and hits the enemy with a Divine Strike, Divine Smite, killing the soldier instantly. He then rushes away from the Malleus Key to be a bit of a distraction. The Thought Eater is up. He casts Dominate on Orym. Wisdom save. He rolls a 19, saving from the Dominate. The Thought Eater then uses Telekinetic Shove on Fern. Fern rolls a Strength save, and she rolls a 17, saving from the shove. The Thought Eater hovers closer towards the Malleus Key to protect itself from getting hit by the Lightning Strike, as now if it misses, it might hit the key. Laudna is up. She spider climbs up the edge of the stairs, up towards the Bloody Bridge. As she goes, she casts Eldritch Blast, hitting 2 of her 3, dealing 26 damage on the Thought Eater again. As she's climbing, she hears whispers. She tells Imogen to be right behind her, and she goes through the bridge herself. Ashen is up. He uses a Chaos Burst, making his speed 80. He grabs Orym and pulls him towards up toward the bridge and throws him in. Ashen hears whispers from the bridge and makes their wisdom saving throw and takes 12 psychic damage. He throws Orym through into the bridge and then goes back down and grabs Fern and does the same thing with her, but also follows through the gate with them. Fern wants to grab the opossum as they go. Sorry, not the opossum, just the possum. Dex roll, but the roll is very low, so they have to leave it behind. The possum is then up, and it very quickly follows up into the bridge. The Juggernaut near Chetney puts itself in the hand of the warder and pushes the platform that Chetney is on over. Chetney takes 12 damage and is knocked prone. The warder throws the Juggernaut towards Chetney, but it's a bad roll, and it actually takes 17 damage from landing. Chetney is up. He runs towards Imogen, dashing to get close as he can. Imogen then goes over to Chetney and reads the scroll of Dimension Door. The Thought Eater enters her mind and says that they'll go after her and they'll find her. She says that she'll kill them all, and they step through the Dimension Door and they enter the Bloody Bridge, and they're pushed up much like the others. Everyone sees the bright red blinding light as they're moving super fast towards wherever they're going. Everyone lands and there's walls and structures around where they are. They see the storm, much like the dreams that they normally step into. And they look up and see the stars in the sky, and they also see Exandria above. And this is where the session ends. Rip Ishto, he's more than likely fucking dead now. And there you have it, episode 82 of Camping 3 of Critical Role. It was very enjoyable for me. It wasn't quite what I expected. I kind of expected an Otohan Thule fight to happen, but I get the feeling that might happen soon. I would very much like to see it happen because the party needs redemption against that bitch, so it needs to happen soon. And again, like I said, Rip Ishto, or Ishto. I think it's Ishto. That guy was very courageous, with 1 hit point, rushing into the middle of the fray, likely going to get speared or skewed by Ballista. So, good for him for trying. Rip that guy. Hope we see him again. Probably won't. But overall, I enjoyed this episode. It was very tense as they were sneaking through and sort of making their way through, making sure they don't get caught, as there is a massive distraction, potentially costing the lives of many allies that they have. So them sneaking through, if they didn't make it to the key, would be a massive waste. So it was nice for them to be able to actually make it. Unfortunately, they didn't find Plane Rider Rin. I was kind of hoping they could bring her along with them so they could have some sort of NPC there, because I do like the whole NPC going with them sort of dynamic. I know it's very DMPC of, situations like that, but I don't mind that, especially as I am typically a DM. Having a character that could be my voice for a while isn't a bad thing, and I think Matt deserves it as well. But of course, they're going up to the moon, and there's a million unknowns coming up, so we don't know. At the end of the session, they were also told that they're still in initiative role because some people might be following them and not just a possum. So, very excited to see how the next week's session starts. But until then, I will be making a video on Tuesday like normal. If you guys heard anything like banging or crashing going on, we're renovating the basement right now. So, I couldn't find any other time to do it. This is the quietest it's been. So, if you heard anything going on below or around, that's why. Winter is renovation time in this household, so that's what's going on. No one's breaking in. Don't know why I said that. Anyway, I'll see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Till then, peace.